I want to be daring, baby, dance the night away. I let my hair down if I want. Don't you just get tired chasing fame and being pretty all the time? Does it sound like fun? You can do better. Let me show you what a good time looks like. You can do better. You can do better. Let me show you what a good time looks like. You can do better. I dare you to be wilder.
What is going on, nerds of wrestling, and welcome to today's episode of What's Up, Nerds, the second episode. I am your host, Justin Del Rio, with my co-host, Dylan Braccia, and our special guest from Straight Talk Wrestling, George McKay. What is going on, dude? How you doing today?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Justin, Dylan, honored to be here. Second episode, man. That's huge. I've never been the second episode in anybody's show. You guys really must have been like, let's just go through. Okay, yeah. He said yes. We're good. Well,
yeah, right.
Honestly, I appreciate it, man. Much love to you guys for putting me on. It's always great to talk to other passionate wrestling fans. So I know this is going to be good.
I've seen your episode with mini hosts on the Dudes at Ringside, and I'm like, these guys are really cool. I was like, you know what? Let me hit them up. Let me see if they're down to come on the show. And I'm glad we're able to make this happen.
Yeah, we're always glad to be there. Unfortunately, Mini Host couldn't be here. She's a little bit indisposed right now, but she's on the mend. She's getting better. So I'm here. I mean, I know it's not as cool as having her here. I know she's the star of the show. I accept it. I accept it fully. I know she's the star of the show. So it's all good.
When you told me, I was like, oh man, I don't know, bro. If we can't have her, then I don't want to do it. No, I'm just messing.
Well, I guess thank you for time with me. I guess I don't know what to say.
Oh man, no, that's great.
So a lot of things going on in the wrestling world now today. We got ROH pretty much ending. You got a lot of movement around companies. What do you think about everything going on in the wrestling world today?
Well, I think we'll touch on ROH first. I mean, if anybody's watched my podcast, Straight Talk Wrestling on YouTube, I've had the pleasure and the honor of sitting down with a lot of ROH's roster. Shane Taylor, Maria Canales, Michael Bennett, and most recently I sat down with like the OG, the heart and soul of ROH. I sat down with him earlier this week. I dropped the episode yesterday, Rhett Titus. We talked a lot about Final Battle. We talked a lot about his history in the company. I mean, it was incredible. This is a guy, we're talking since he was 17 years old. He trained at the dojo. He made his debut. Yeah, he's done indie runs here and there. He's had a couple appearances at other promotions, but ROH through and through, it's always been his home. And talking to him the other day, it was great to sit down with him because like a lot of my favorite matches and memories center around Rhett. But what sucked was that seeing the emotion, just how like heartbroken he was when, and of course, as any podcaster, you got to ask tough questions like what's running through your mind now that ROH is closing the door. And he kind of just got really like quiet for like 30 seconds. And he was like, I'm still processing. Like I still don't know how to really understand and what to do here. I mean, we were all on the Zoom call, just getting our TV schedules for the week. And then next thing you know, the CFO starts talking and saying, hey, so guess what? We're closing up shop for a little bit. We've run a little short on funds and it sucks. You're talking about a 40 to 50 person roster that's now going to be back out on the indies. Now for fans like us, that's a great thing because we get to see them in these intimate venues, which is huge. Mm-hmm. But for them, those guaranteed contracts, like all of us have shoot jobs. So we know what it is to have money rolling through consistently. When you get that consistency taken away and you got to go like gig to gig, show to show, go back to the way it was, 20, 30 years ago before you might've got signed. That's a hard thing to come. Yeah, it is. It's literally like being laid off, right? Mass layoff. Like one day, lights just turned out, doors closed. Sorry, guys. Peace and love. We just can't help you anymore. Like I could never imagine that. And seeing that emotion in his face, and especially me, like ROH was where I got started. Like, my dad took me to WCW shows and WWE shows when I was a kid. But when I first fell in love with like a raw, real product was ROH. I mean, I discovered Kevin Steen right away, and I gravitated towards him. So I'm like, the guy that looks like me. He's kind of on the chubbier side, but he can move and he can kick ass. It's not all of a sudden I was like, you could be a wrestler and not have a six pack. That's awesome. Maybe there's a chance for me in this world. So ROH has always been something special for me, and I'm looking forward to tonight's pay-per-view. But it's also going to be hard to watch as a fan.
Right.
It's going to be hard to get through, for sure. And as for everything else that you talked about, man, where do you get started? So many dream matches running through my head, so many possible pickups. Glad to see that a lot of the some of the ROH rosters already making debuts at NWA. I love what Billy Corgan's doing with the NWA product. I love that old school studio feel. And I know that people are like, there's a lot of people making assumptions for hard times that just recently happened. Oh, the crowd, there wasn't a whole lot of crowd and stuff like that. We don't know the full extent of the COVID restrictions from city to city. We don't know how many people are allowed in arenas. Just because WWE and AEW are packing these arenas like sardines doesn't mean it's necessarily safe right now. So I think the NWA crowd was the perfect size. I think it was just, intimate. It's kind of like a special gift to you. It's like, here, if you're faithful, here, you get this whole little 3 hours of awesomeness. So just take it and enjoy it. And like Jonah, gets Bronson Reed, gets cut from NXT. 3 months later, boom, he's showing up in Impact, showing up in New Japan. Like dream matches just running through my head right now. It's exciting to be a fan because you don't know who's going to pop up. But it's also a little disheartening as a fan because I don't want to see any of my favorites not working. That's my concern.
A lot of people, kind of get upset when these WWE guys get released because a lot of us wrestling fans are like, oh my God, they're all gonna go to AEW. But because I had that mindset for a while when AEW first broke out, all these guys from WWE were not wrestling. I'm like, oh, we could see, but what was his name in WWE? Sean Spears, whatever his name was, and what was his name in WWE? Dylan?
Ty Dillinger.
Ty Dillinger. Right when he got released, I was like, 10,
the perfect 10.
Right. I was like, oh, he's going to AEW. Like all these other guys, Rusev in AEW, and now it's kind of getting to the point where AEW kind of needs to chill for a bit because they just got two of the major guys in WWE at the time, Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson, formerly known as Daniel Bryan. Two wrestlers who come to mind right now are Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly. We know they are no longer going to be wrestling for the WWE, internet. They didn't resign. You're seeing it everywhere. Where do you see them going?
To be honest with you, I think Gargano's going to take a step back for a bit, not because he's not ready to compete, but I know that I'm not sure if she's already had the baby yet, but I know they are expecting. So he may want to take some time off, a few months, just to be a father. I mean, I know from having two daughters of my own that the most important thing you can have is that time with them from when they're so small, because that's who you can teach them to become the person you want them to become. And that's the most critical part. In those little moments, like some of the most rewarding moments was coming home from a long day of work and sitting down with she's 5 years old now. I can't get her to sit still for 5 minutes, but when she was a baby, just sitting with her on my chest and just watching wrestling. Those were some of the most rewarding moments, and watching a basketball game where I had to yell quietly because if I raise my voice, she might wake up. But like those are the moments that you cherish, and he may just want to enjoy being a dad. Now, as for Kyle O'Reilly, I'm not going to lie. When I found out Bandito got COVID, a lot of things started to fit in. I'm like, man, wouldn't it be nice to have an ROH OG come back for one night only? Now, don't get me wrong. Jay Lethal sliding in against Jonathan Gresham. Whoo, yeah, that's made right there for sure. But when I found that out, I'm like, Kyle's officially released. He doesn't have to worry about the 90-day clause. He could show up, and him versus Jonathan Gresham, man, that would be fire. But to be honest with you, I don't see Kyle right now going to AEW just because Adam Cole's over there and he's mixed in with the elite and stuff like that. Right. And they just got off that rivalry. So, I mean, if you're a wrestling fan, you don't want to see two guys rival in one company and all of a sudden they're like friends again in another company. It loses something. And I get it. It's two different organizations, two different sets of storylines, but it just loses something for me. So I think that for me, honestly and truly, I think Kyle O'Reilly would be a great fit in NWA. I mean, I think there's a lot of great matches you can have there. But also, I mean, my side podcast, I'm an MLW freak. And I think we saw Bobby Fish make appearances in MLW. And he had some bar, like him and Davey Richards. I mean, that was wrestling 101. You want to see a classic grapple for grapple match, just go back and watch that. And MLW's like gifted all that for free on their YouTube. But I could see him going there. I actually wouldn't be a shocker to see him kind of recut his teeth in Japan. I mean, why not? Japan is the place to be. As much as AEW is the North American promotion, everybody wants to go to Japan. Everybody makes it seem like if you go to Japan, you have something to prove. Josh Alexander, I know him very well. I know he's talked about, every time I see him at Destiny shows, we're always chopping it up for a bit. And he's talked a lot before he made his New Japan debut. He's talked a lot about going over there. He wants to mix it up with the best. And those guys are some of the hardest hitting wrestlers in the game in New Japan. If you're wrestling in New Japan, You're there for a reason. You're there because you can hit hard and you can hit fast. So if you're going to establish yourself as any kind of premier wrestler, that's where you have to go. And then you can come back over here. Then you can come back and bring your talent and skill level here. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Kyle O'Reilly go back to New Japan for another run, because I think he would do dynamite over there. Him and Chase Owens, him and Switchblade, shit. Crazy.
You're like naming all these dream matches over here, man. But tell us a little bit about you, man. We talked about wrestling, what's going on in the world. Let's talk about you. When did you first become a mark for wrestling?
Okay, so I'm going to age myself now. I don't want to. My hairline already does that for me, but I'm going to age myself.
Bro, mine too. I'm 27 and my hairline is like
yeah, keep that hat on.
And then there's Dylan over here with his like flowing locks.
I know.
Right.
You know what, man? You suck with your long hair. No, it's all love. For me, honestly and truly, the earliest memory I have of wrestling, I told a story a bunch of times on my podcast. Two memories kind of stand out for me. Christmas Eve, my uncle's house. Just got a bootleg tape of that event that Mick Foley and everybody talks about. And I wasn't paying much attention. I was playing around with my cousin's wrestling figures. He had Hogan. I think I was Hacksaw, because Hacksaw came with the the rubber stick of wood. So I was just hitting Hogan with the head of wood. And then I look up and I hear, oh my God, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. And there's Jimmy Superfly Snook on top of the cage doing the pose, and then he jumps. And for me, it was like a moment in time. I'm sitting there, I'm like, that's like 20 feet in the air. Like, this guy's going to break his freaking head. And then he didn't. He got up and the match continued, and it was like epicness. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but I want to get into this more. Then I would go over to my uncle's house, because he had the I can't get in trouble now, but he had the illegal black box. Everybody remembers those black boxes. Yeah. You got it was pretty much IPTV before IPTV. So he had the illegal black box, and we could get the pay-per-views. And yeah, man, we would go over, we would watch WrestleManias and stuff like that, because it was only 4 pay-per-views a year. It's not like it is now, where there's just so much content. And then WCW came to town for a house show. And my dad was like, would you want to go see WCW? I'm like, I don't know what that is. And he's like, well, it's World Championship Wrestling. And I was like, okay. And he's like, there's a cool guy there named Sting. And I'm like, Sting? Like, what's that about? And he's like, he paints his face. I'm like, he paints his face. I'm like Ultimate Warrior? And Dad's like, actually, yeah, he has kind of the similar paint on one side, if anything. And he's like, yeah, but he's got a blonde flat top, and he's like built like a brick house. I'm like, what do you mean built like a brick house? Like, I'm 6 years old. What does that mean? he's built like a Spartan warrior. Again, I don't know what that means. I'm 6. What's a Spartan warrior?
Right.
My dad's like, he looks awesome. Just like, you're coming with me. So we go. It was a cold day. We end up waiting outside of Skydome before it was Rogers Center in Toronto. We have waiting outside, and then we go in. And my dad got floor seats, like literally 2 rows from the rig apron, or whatever you want to call it. So,
wow.
And it was Sting. The main event was Sting versus Vader in a steel cage.
Wow.
So Ric Flair's in the audience. He's sitting like 6 feet away from me. I had no idea who he was. He stands up. He's like, I love Toronto. Woo! Toronto. I'm like, why is this guy screaming woo? Like, I was 6. I didn't understand any of it. And then out comes Sting. Out comes Vader. They load this cage, and these two are just going at it. And the one point I can remember is when Vader clocked Sting outside the ring, and Sting fell back. And he fell back, and he pushed the grate right up to where I was. I was like literally 3 inches from him. And he looked back, and he went, hope you enjoy the show, kid. And then he started hitting Vader again. And I just looked at my dad, and I was just like, that's my guy. Like, that's my guy forever. And it's reigned true. Like, Sting and Triple H, those are my guys through and through. But when Sting took a moment out of getting his ass whooped at that particular moment by Vader, and he winked at me and was like, I hope you're enjoying the show, kid. I was like, this is like the coolest thing ever. And that just stuck with me. And then it just became learning more, gaining more knowledge, buying the magazines, because there was no internet at the time. Shocker. I know, all you millennials, there was no internet. Oh my God, what did we do before that? I could really age myself and say you used to have to take the phone off the hook just to get on the internet.
Hey, listen, I had dial-up before. I kind of know what you're talking about.
You know the struggles of dial-up, and I remember when it was like 1 kilobyte, and you were like, that's state of the art. It's only going to take like 18 minutes for a web page to load. Right. But yeah, after that moment, I fell in love with it. And then same thing, like everything that's kind of happened in my life has kind of happened through wrestling. Like when I went on my first date with my wife, and she told me how much of a wrestling fan she was. And on our first date, thank God there was a second date, but on our first date, I was like, I don't know, I could see myself marrying you. And here we are 19 years later. We've exposed it to our kids. Both of our kids are all in, right? Wrestling brings people together. Whoever says you can't meet a gorgeous woman who's a wrestling fan, take note from me. If I've done anything noteworthy in my life, it's that. I found a beautiful woman who loves wrestling and looks at a guy like me and thinks I'm good looking. I mean, what can I say? It's a good day. But yeah, we just keep exposing our children to wrestling. We keep having stuff. And I decided one day after like 10 years of talking about it, like when you're in your 20s, you're like, oh, I'm gonna start a podcast. And then 3 weeks go by and you still gonna start that podcast? Yeah, I'm gonna start it. I'm gonna start it this week. 6 years go by, and then I was 32 one day. I was at a crossroads in my life. I had a rough day at work, and I was just like, I need to do something. I need to do something to get my mind off of all this bullshit stress in real life. And then I called my buddy up, who was my former co-host, Steve the Animal Mitchell. Called him up and I was like, hey man, let's start a podcast together. He's like, you really? I'm like, yeah, like come over here. We're going to record like a 10-minute pilot episode and see how it does. So because we were so creative, we did like raw recap for 10 minutes. And it was we were so groundbreaking. We were so groundbreaking. And it stunk. It stunk. It absolutely did. Shit the bed. The content we were talking about was horrible, and just the way we built our concepts. But then kept at it. We kept going back. We came up with a theme song. We came up with a name, and then it just kind of started picking up a little bit of steam. And then him and I, creative differences. We split ways, but I still wish him all the best of luck. We still talk on a regular basis, me and him. And then I gravitated towards the interview side. And man, I could run down the list, but just go to the YouTube page, check it out. But some of the people that I've been able to have conversations with, able to call friends, people that I've met in this business, like you guys, through wrestling, like it's just, if you're in the community, it's a fantastic community. If you're not in the community, but you're interested in getting in the community, come join us. We don't judge anybody here. Yes, we have a lot of judgmental fans who think they know everything. We have a lot of fans who love to be keyboard warriors and bully. Like when I was on the Turnbuckle Tavern, a bunch of great guys, an amazing podcast. I was honored to be a guest on their show, and I had to bring a topic to the table. So my topic was, who's had the most success with the Forbidden Door? And I thought, I was like, I'm going to go in this. I'm going to crush AEW. Yeah, I got my ass handed to me by these three guys who literally were on point with everything I had. They had a rebuttal ready to go, but it was an educated rebuttal. And I was like, you know what? They changed my opinion. AEW definitely did make the most out of the open door policy, but they did help elevate Impact. They did help elevate all these brands. They also let NWA, who literally had no venue at the time, they utilized their stars. They had the NWA Women's Championship defended on AEW television. Yep. So AEW really did. I guess my disdain for Tony Khan and how much of an egomaniac he is makes it hard for me to appreciate AEW. And I say that with all this AEW merch that I've spent money on behind me.
Yeah, I was looking at all that. Yeah.
Yes. And I just picked up 3 new ones today. I finally found a John Moxley, so I'm very excited about that.
Dope.
But I love the product. I love the roster. Doesn't mean I have to like the owner. I don't love Vince McMahon, but I respect him. Yeah. Anybody who says Vince McMahon's ruined wrestling, no. Pay respect, pay homage, because Vince McMahon was the original godfather of wrestling. Say what you want to say. Tony Khan only knows all his stuff about wrestling because he watched WCW and WWE have their Monday Night War. I don't care what anybody says. I will defend that point to the end. Tony Khan, I take kind of from what Eric Bischoff said. Tony Khan's not revolutionizing anything. He's just got a roster of he's literally built the all-star monster squad from Space Jam. He's literally built that in his house. Yeah. That's the best way to describe it. And nobody else has Michael Jordan to counteract him because he's got literally everybody and Michael Jordan on his fucking roster. Yeah. But I can love the product. I can appreciate the talent. Doesn't mean I have to like the owner. But my long-winded response is that there was a guy on there that started shit talking me. And I was very professional. I was like, hey man, you have your opinions. I have mine. You don't think I know what I'm talking about? That's cool. I mean, that's the great thing about the internet. We all have opinions. Assholes like you have opinions. Now, granted, maybe I shouldn't have called him an asshole, but at the same time, he started attacking. He started going at my daughter. And when he started going at my daughter, I started losing my shit because at the end of the day, that's my kid. So you want to disrespect?
Right?
Yeah, you want to listen. You want to disrespect me? You want to call me a fucking idiot? Call me a fucking mark? It's all good. At the end of the day, that's your opinion. You live your life. I'll live mine. But you're gonna shit talk me from a keyboard, and then you expect me not to defend my kid? You must be out of your fucking mind. What kind of father wouldn't defend their child? So I went to the Turnbuckle Tavern guys and I said, guys, you know what? I don't know who this guy is. They said, don't worry, George. We blocked him. We're so sorry for what happened. I'm like, why are you guys apologizing? It's not your fault. It's not your fault that some jackass was having a bad day and decided to be a bully on the internet. That's the negative part about being a wrestling fan, is that if you have an opinion or if you make a comment on a post, you're going to have 25 know-it-alls who are going to come right at you shooting their mouths off because they think they know more. And at the end of the day, wrestling, What are we talking about? We're talking about men and women who wear underwear fighting for a belt. It's completely redundant if you think about it.
Right.
Unless they're John Moxley and fighting in like jeggings, which I don't know how the fuck he did that for so long.
Yeah.
But kudos to him. I used to be like, how come he hasn't ripped a pair of jeans while he's wrestling? I
Right.
never understood that. And then my wife was like, well, they're jeggings. And I was like, oh, look at that. I just learned something today. And then I said, side note, what the fuck's a jegging?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. And then she's like, oh, babe, like, I don't have time for you. I'm like, well, I don't know what these things are. I'm learning for the first time. I'm learning as I grow. And it was just, it's stuff like that. That's the negative side of wrestling and the wrestling community that I hate. But genuinely just getting together with great people, having great conversations. And I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I get mixed up in the numbers. I look at my numbers and I'm thinking, fuck, like, what am I doing wrong? Like some episodes that I'm so excited about, 30, 40 views. And I'm sitting there going, what am I doing wrong? Like the episodes I don't put much stock in, 100, 200 views. The episodes I do put a lot of stock in, 20, 30 views. But then it's my wife who really is my angel. She keeps me up. She goes, why did you start this? I go, because I wanted to just talk to wrestlers and have conversations. What are you doing now? Well, I'm talking to wrestlers and having conversations. So did you achieve your goal? Well, yeah. So what are we talking about? Can I finish eating dinner now?
Right.
And she's right. Like it's the sometimes you need to hear that simplistic answer. And that's what she does. She keeps me centered with all that stuff. And she tells me, remember what you got into this for. You got into this to have conversations. She goes, and look at what you've done. You wanted to become a commentator. You've achieved that dream. I'm affiliated with HWE, Hamilton Wrestling Entertainment. I am 1/3 of the commentary team over there. And that's been just electric. That's been awesome to call some of the matches that I've called, from having Puff in the building to having
Puff.
Yeah, Puff is a phenomenal guy, and now I'm honored to call him a friend. I actually got an episode coming up with him very soon on the show, and to be affiliated with like one of the hottest promotions in Canada, Destiny World Wrestling, that's another honor. George the Iceman, he opened the doors for me. He the one who helped me get kind of segued in with Impact and all the stuff that I've been able to do. So without building these connections and these relationships, Straight Talk Wrestling would not be where it is today, and I'm eternally grateful. You know, yeah, I don't have thousands of views. I don't have millions of views. But the people who love and appreciate what I do, they tune in week to week. They're the Straight Talk faithful, and they're who I appreciate 150%.
You know, bro, I love what you said, because I interview wrestlers as well. You know, What's Up Wrestler, Nerds of Wrestling. And it sucks, you know, like you said, you put so much time and effort, like editing these videos, you know, like making like the sickest intro, making the sickest layout, everything for this wrestler. And this the podcast only gets like, you know, 100 listens and like 30 views. And I'm like, damn, man, that sucks. Like, what am I doing wrong? But then, you know, you said like, hey, you know, you're like your wife said, you're interviewing these wrestlers, you're putting your name out there, you're achieving something that a lot of people don't take the time to do. And, you know, I always sit back and go like, hey, you know what? Like, I gotta calm down, you know, like there's a lot of podcasts out there, but I'm trying. I'm really trying. You know, I've interviewed over 200 wrestlers within a year, and a lot of people go, holy shit, like 200? I go, yeah, 200. One of them is now wrestling in WWE, and that's Carmelo Hayes. I had the honor and privilege to interview Christian Casanova before he got signed. So, you know, a lot of people go, damn, that's awesome right there. Like, you have that in your library. So, you know, like to the people who do want to do a podcast, do it. Go for it. Try it. Yeah, you're not gonna, you know, succeed at first, but you keep going, man. Like, you're gonna have like a big following. So, you know, but yeah, anyway, sorry about that.
And just remember that, just remind them that if you do start a podcast, welcome to the community, because we love to have you, but you will not make any money. You will actually spend a lot more than you make. I've sold like 8 shirts, maybe 9. And I think I bought 3 of them myself, because I'm like, well, if I'm going to try to sell them, I got to rep on my own. I got to rep my own stuff to sell it. But you will not make any money. But the relationships that you will build, the conversations you will have, when you see a wrestler at a show, that same thing with me. Like I interviewed Alex Zane before he was Ari Sterling, and that was crazy. That was crazy. And now that he's got released, him and I are talking. So hopefully I get another round with him. I would love to have him back on the show. And it's just all about building those relationships. And when you can build those relationships and you can keep moving forward, at the end of the day, views is nothing. Yeah, I've got some podcasters that I know for a fact are clickbait podcasters. And I didn't even know what clickbait was until like a year and a half ago. So see, you're always learning and growing. I had no idea what clickbait was. And my wife was like, well, clickbait is where you have something and then you click it as something completely different. I'm like, right. Like when you go to meet when you go to a strip club and you get a lap dance from the girl, and on stage she looks amazing, but then up close, not so much. You're like, huh, I played that one wrong. I rolled the dice on that. It didn't work out for me. And I had no idea what clickbait was. And I know some podcasters now who I have relationships with who are just into the clickbait stuff. They post 5, 6, 10-minute views, 10-minute clips, and they just try to get their views out there. And they're like, oh, look, I'm taking off. Hey, that's great. If that's your journey, that's your journey. But for Straight Talk Wrestling, I can't call myself a guy who talks it straight up. I can't be the Straight Talk host of Straight Talk Wrestling if I'm going to sit there and tell you bullshit. Like, I have to be honest. And I've had some people say, oh, you're a mark. You just love everybody. I don't love everybody, but I appreciate everybody. I'm a big TJP fan. Do I love everything he's done? Fuck no. Do I love the shit he's done? Do I love the shit he's done in MLW? Yes. Do I love that Iron Man match he had with Josh Alexander at Impact? Fucking right, I do. Banger. Do I appreciate TJP when he had his run in WWE? No. And I told him that on my show. I said, dude, you're running WWE. He goes, I know. It was shit. It's not who I was. He goes, being the first cruiserweight champion was great, but those last 6-7 months, I lost myself. Like, and he said it. I agree with them. I agree with them 100%. But when you can have those honest conversations, and then like him and I, we don't talk on a regular, but whenever basketball season's going on, because I'm a Raptors fan, he's a Lakers fan. So whenever the Raptors are playing the Lakers, I'll send him pictures of like a donkey's ass with the Laker logo pinned on it. And he'll send me back the middle finger. And that's just how we are. Like, him and I have that relationship. We're not the best of friends, but when it comes to basketball, we should talk each other. He sent me a picture of, what was it? He sent me a picture of Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada. It's an embarrassment. With like the flag up his nose, the Canadian flag. I'm like, man, I hate you. I really don't like you very much. He gets me all the time with the memes when we go back and forth. But I mean, I just appreciate these guys for what they do, because anybody that has the balls to put themselves out there and put their bodies on the line to entertain me, I'm going to respect.
Yeah.
If you want to shit all over the business, fine. But shit all over it on your own time. Don't bring it to me and call me a mark or call me a freak out fan because I appreciate certain individuals. I have my set of wrestlers that I appreciate, and that's who I appreciate, and that's who I like. You have your set. That's fine. Just because you have a different set and I have a different set doesn't mean we can't coexist.
Exactly.
Absolutely, man. You know, you say you're from Canada, right?
Yes.
A couple months ago, I've interviewed Alexia Nicole, and I think I asked the stupidest question a wrestling fan could ask her, and I caught myself in the middle of it, and I go, hold up, that was a dumb question. She was cracking up. She goes, no, there's no such thing as stupid questions. And I asked, is wrestling big in Canada? And I was like, wait, stop. Hold on. Let me stop myself there. She
Dylan,
goes,
it was so nice speaking with you, man. I hope you
right?
like later, man. Dusty, you take care, man. All the best. I hope you can grow as an individual and know that we don't live in fucking igloos, bro. I got a house here, okay? No, it's all good. It's all love, man. Yeah, no, it's huge over here. And Alexia Nicole, she's a great friend of mine. I've had her on the show like 3 times. She's a sweetheart, and she's also one of like the hardest hitting women in the game. A lot of people, I think, don't think, they sleep on her a lot. And I know she just got back from shoulder surgery. I was honored to call her first matches back at HWE, which will be available on the WWE Network. And I can't wait I know 2022 is going to be a breakout year for her. 2021 was a breakout year for so many people. I can't wait to see what 2022 holds for sure.
You know, talk about other promotions in Canada. Like, I know you said you do commentary for one. What are some other promotions out there? Talk about some wrestlers that you got to discover that not a lot of people will know.
Right. So this is the cool thing about that is that, it's a shocker. It's a surprise, but I didn't know indie wrestling existed till like 7 years ago.
Same.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I thought that the big arenas was all that mattered. And then I started hearing about this promotion, Destiny Wrestling, and I mentioned Iceman, George Iceman. He's the head of the promotion over there. And I harassed this guy for like 6 months. I was like, man, I'd love to sit down and talk with you because you bring in a lot of WWE guys. You brought in Marty Scurll before the Speaking Out movement. And like you brought in all these like big time names. Like, I'd love to sit down and talk with you. After 6 months, he's finally like, damn, you don't go away. I'm like, no, I'm very persistent. I'm very, very persistent. And he's like, all right, let's sit down. Let's talk. So we actually had almost a 4-hour conversation.
Wow.
He was sitting down with us doing the interview, but also he was helping out his friend Anthony Corelli, Santino Morella at Battle Arts Academy. He was doing ring announcing because Iceman has like that ring announcer voice. He's like an MC by trade, but he's also a very passionate wrestling fan who's got like one of the best promotions in Canada, I will definitely say, with the affiliation Impact and all that stuff. It's kind of like the Impact, I guess you'd say the NXT of Impact. It's that developmental program where if you're in Destiny, if you're in the roster, you're getting built up to make that jump to Impact. Josh Alexander, Speedball Mike Bailey, they were all signed through their efforts at Destiny World Wrestling to Impact Wrestling. So Destiny's a promotion that I'm honored to be affiliated with. And he actually was like, okay, have you ever been to a Destiny show? And I was like, no, but thank you so much for the time. And he's like, I'm going to give you 2 tickets. You need to come and see what the hell we're about. If you're gonna start, repping us, you're gonna sit down with the head. You might as well see what we're about.
Right.
So me and my co-host went, and man, I discovered guys like Channing Decker, Aiden Prince, Josh Alexander. I discovered some of like the future of wrestling in Canada. I discovered at this promotion. I was like, holy shit, I got to sit down with these guys. And through him, was able to meet Josh before Josh got signed. Be there, be the one to post the clip on Twitter and get over 30,000 views, breaking the news on Josh getting signed, which was huge. You post a clip, you don't think anything happens. I woke up to like 800 notifications the next morning. I was like, what the fuck happened last night? I'm like, did I get hacked? I'm sitting here.
What did I post?
Yeah, I'm like, did I post like a dick pic or something? I just want to make sure I didn't fuck shit up, right? And, it was great. And then through him, I discovered other great. So in Ontario, we have what I like to call the best kept secret in wrestling. We have over 40 different promotions that run out of Ontario. From one end of Ontario, which is Ottawa, to the other end, which is St. Catharines. We have CWF in St. Catharines. They're a great promotion. We have Crossbody Pro Wrestling out in Cambridge. We have Hamilton Wrestling Entertainment, which I am affiliated with, Hamilton Pro Wrestling, Alpha One, Courage Pro Wrestling. They all run out of Hamilton. Hamilton's a big hub for wrestling. Mississauga, we have Battle Arts. We have Destiny. Up in Barrie towards the north, we have Barrie Wrestling. We have Greektown Wrestling in downtown Toronto. There's also a lot that I'm missing, but there's so many promotions in Ontario, and we've been able to see some of the best before they were the top tier guys. A lot of people come here and they kind of hone their craft here. They build themselves here because here the fans, we're not just like, hey, oh, great match, eh? Like we're honest. We'll say, fuck, you shit the bed on that one, or that was great. But we've been able to see some of the guys before they really, really exploded on the scene, and everyone got to see them. And there's so many great wrestlers, from Alexia Nicole. Another great woman here is Jody Threat. Divya, she's also a fantastic talent. Shiloh, she's a fantastic talent. Everyone I'm talking about right now is repping women's straps. April Jones, she's another women's champion out here. Then you've got Channing Decker, who runs Greektown, but he's also affiliated with Destiny. He's held so many titles. He went over to Japan. He's fought so many of the ECW legends. He's the hardcore guy out here. He does all the crazy shit, from Extreme Rules to chairs matches to cage matches. Like Channing Decker puts his body on the line for what he loves. Then you got the king of Canadian strong style, Josh Alexander, who cut his graph. You got Holden Albright, who's another bright spot up here. He's a great character, got a great look. He's a little bit of a bigger guy, but he moves around the ring like a Kevin Owens. And he's got this demented wolf mask, and he comes out to this theme song that makes my fucking skin crawl. But it's just a great gimmick. And so many guys, so many great promoters. The list can go on and on and on. But the scene we have out here is incredible. And the great thing is that we share that border with Quebec. And Quebec has some phenomenal promotions, some phenomenal wrestlers. I mean, you're talking about PCO. He came out of Quebec, and he's still going. And I'm actually going to see him this week at the Destiny show, and I can't wait to see him and Josh Alexander go one-on-one. That's going to be insane.
What a match!
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. And $65 is the price point, man. VIP, you get to sit down and you get to just sit front row, and I can cheer for Josh, and I can yell Tabernacle at PCO, but he could probably break me in half. Tabernacle's a swear word. For people who don't know, it's a Quebec swear word. Okay, yeah, Tabernacle, SD Coles, just apparently when you swear in Quebec, you swear a lot about the church. I don't know what that is, but you swear a lot. You got to go back to Quebec and Montreal, you got Speedball Mike Bailey, just got signed to Impact. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. You've got Jeremy Prophet, who is an insane wrestler. He's also 1/3 of the Jofo in the Ring podcast, and he can cut a promo like nobody. I had him on my show with another one of his co-hosts, Kyle. I love Kyle. Kyle's hilarious, and he cut a promo on Kyle. And Kyle's bald. He kind of looks like. You ever see that movie Powder?
No.
Yes.
Okay, so Google the movie Powder. You know what I'm talking about. He's very pale, kind of has no eyebrows. And Jeremy looked at him and he's like, "Oh, you need to shut the hell up, you hermaphrodite, fucking Mr. Potato Head motherfucker." And I was just like, "Oh my god, oh my god!"
Wow,
yeah. And this is his friend, and I was like, "Jeremy, thank God you didn't go at me, man, because I don't think I would have had Jeremy just lit him up, and Jeremy is one of an amazing talent who could fit into any roster anywhere, and he's been around for a long time. The problem is here in Canada is so much red tape. to get over the States, like Josh Alexander had to get help with visa issues. Speedball Mike Bailey had to get help with visa issues. They can go anywhere. They can go fight in the world. Speedball has been over to Japan. He's had some great matches over there. He can't wrestle in the States because of all the red tape, all the border control, all the restrictions, all the nonsense. And we're not talking COVID restrictions. We're talking before COVID. So a lot of these great talents, they never get to go stateside because of all the restrictions and visa issues and all that nonsense. So Destiny really is that platform to get them noticed, hopefully get them signed to Impact. So Impact's, attorneys can kind of work through those visa issues and get those guys over there so the world can see them. Because if you put them on any company that's got a TV platform or a YouTube platform that's got thousands of subscribers, they can really take their career to the next level. And that's the major issue for a lot of the talent that's over here. That's why the scene over here is so electric, because you got this crop of talent that is insane, but a lot of them can't get out of Canada, and it sucks because you guys would love to see some of those guys.
Oh, dude, I would love to see Alexia Nicole, man. I would love to see, Puff has been, in the States a few times. I've seen him, I think, once or twice. But I've unfortunately, never seen Josh Alexander wrestle in person. I've never seen, majority of the guys and girls that you named wrestle here in the States. And I do remember Alexia Nicole was saying that it's very tough for us wrestlers in Canada. She's speaking at her, saying that, we're not able to go to the States a lot because she said a lot of the times the Border Patrol will think, oh, they're just taking our jobs in America or something like that. Something along those lines.
That's exactly it. It's legislation, because you guys have a legislation that protects your workers over there. I'm not just talking about wrestling. I'm talking about everything. Even when we have, I work for, my shoot job as a truck dispatcher. I can have a Canadian driver bring over a load, but I cannot, very rarely can I have a Canadian driver deliver a load from Canada. I could deliver no problem. But if I tell him to drop in, say, Romulus, Michigan, I say, drop it in my yard, pick up this trailer, and I want you to go deliver it to Baltimore, Maryland. He gets pulled over and they find out he's a Canadian driver delivering a US to US load. We get a fine. He gets jail time because apparently we're taking money from a US truck driver. When we're not, We're just trying to keep our operations going. But you guys have a legislation in place that protects all your workers. And that's great. That's absolutely great. But then in the same, it gives stumbling blocks like what our wrestlers and what our talent faces over here. Because a lot of wrestlers, there's a guy, Mark Wheeler, the Golden Gun. This guy is phenomenal. He's cut like Seth Rollins was during the Shield days. He is just mint, and he's a fucking beast. And he's one of the sweetest guys in the world, but he plays a heel better than nobody else. Mark Wheeler can never be a face because he's so good at being a heel that if he was ever a face, I'd be like, I don't like you. I don't like you as a person.
That's how a lot of wrestlers are, I have another question, but I want to say this real quick. A lot of wrestlers nowadays, especially in WWE, you see these wrestlers play a face and you're like, no, you're better as a heel. I don't even like him anymore because they were so good as a heel. Kevin Owens is one of them.
Just about my comment on that.
Right. I was like, bro, go back to being a heel because you were so much better as this badass guy who did not give a fuck about anything or anybody. Now you're a face, and I'm like, Seth Rollins the same way. He was the face a few times, right?
Yep. His face runs sucked, but his heel runs.
His heel runs are amazing.
Phenomenal. Turn on the Shield, you remember that. Right. He hit Roman Reigns in the back of the chair. I was like, you son of a bitch. I hate him. But I love you, but I hate you.
The question I have though is, you were naming so many promotions up in your area, so many wrestlers. As a fellow podcaster, I know you know the struggle. It's so hard to discover all these guys and girls. It's so hard to discover all these promotions because every single day, I'm sure you, George, you're discovering someone new. If it's not in Canada, it's in Russia or Japan or, just Italy or, in America. It's like, holy shit, who is that? Who is she? Oh my God, this is their promotion. I never heard of them. As a podcaster and as a fan, how do you kind of, deal with all that?
Well, what I like to do, the great thing about the podcasting community is it's very big, but it's very small. And if you find that loyal crop of podcasters that you kind of stick with or come up the ranks with, you kind of get to weave the talent. Joeful in the Ring was a podcast I mentioned. Another great podcast, Dirty Heels out of New York. Those guys are fantastic. Another great podcast, Circle of Debate out of California. Those guys are all amazing and their opinions are very strong. And to call yourself the Circle of Debate, they literally do debate. And you better be You ever get to be a guest
ready.
on that, man, you better be on point because they'll rip you apart. Turnbuckle Tavern. There's so many other great podcasts out there that, again, names are slipping. To Call Up is another one. Off the Top Rope Wrestling Podcast. Universal Wrestling Podcast. So many great podcasts. And if you get affiliated with these guys and you get to know them and develop these relationships, you kind of all help each other. You know, I had a person message me the other day on Twitter. He's like, "Hey man, I've been trying to get Hollywood Hilly J for a long time. How did you get her?" I'm like, dude, straight up, I just stalked her on Facebook. That's what I did. I sent a message every day for like 3 months till she got back to me. And then when she got back to me, we had to postpone the interview a couple times because she got COVID and stuff. But when we sat down, it was dynamite. And what the coolest part about that interview was she was a phenomenal guest, but having her son on the show with her for that little segment that we did was amazing. And when I asked her some point blank, I'm like, so who's your favorite wrestler? It's got to be Mom. He's like, no. I was like, wow. And he's like 3, 4. And I was like, damn. And she's like, I know, right? This is my own flesh and blood. He doesn't appreciate me. And the great thing about that is building these relationships with individuals in the promotion. If you build a relationship with individuals in certain promotions, then the roster kind of opens up to you because it's a lot easier. I got her as well because I interviewed Al Snow, and Al Snow runs OVW. So when I interviewed her, when I hit her up, I was like, listen, talk to Al. Him and I had a great conversation. I hope he remembers me. And she did message me back finally after I put that. And she's like, yeah, Al kind of vetted you. Al said you're good people. And I was like, look, I told you that, but I get it. I get it. Al Snow vetted me 100%. Sometimes you got to go through the proper channels.
You just need clarification.
Exactly.
You just need clarification. You also need to make sure that people are on the up and up because, I mean, these guys and girls, they get thousands of podcast requests a day. And sometimes I sit there like, I've been trying to hit up Vince Russo. Everybody's had him on. But I can't get him for me. I've sent him messages. I've sent him emails. I've tried everything. He does not respond. And then I see him on another podcaster's thing, like even a podcaster that just started up like 3-4 months in and they got Vince Russo. I'm like, fuck, man, I've been at this 5 years. What do I got to do?
Yeah, it's hard.
Same thing with DDP. I've had a couple great people that have interviewed DDP. And it's not jealousy. I'm not jealous of anybody, man. Hey, DDP, if you got DDP, that's awesome. But fuck, help me out. How did you? So any other podcasters out there, if we all help each other, yeah, maybe the same guest, but don't forget, it's promotion for all of us, plus promotion for the wrestler. I mean, them coming on our shows, they think, oh, they just want to talk about how I got started or, you know, what I developed or how I decided that this was going to be my style. No, what we want to do, at least what I try to do is I don't have interviews. I hate the word interview. It's horrible. I have conversations. We sit down, we shoot the shit. As much as people may believe, I don't have a list of questions in front of me. When I do my interviews, I do my research. I have a couple points I want to discuss.
Right.
I'll have like a bullet point list, but my questions come as the conversation comes. And believe it or not, that's the way I do my interviews. I don't sit there and be like, so where did you grow up?
It's like, especially like
I already fucking know because I go on your Wikipedia.
You look it up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. That dead air just pissed me off, Ryan. I hate that. It's like, so hold on, let me ask the question.
Hold on, let me just right here.
Like 5 seconds of dead air.
Sorry, hold on. I just gonna I don't want to just see my phone when I'm gonna scroll through. Okay, so it says here that you were trained by Brutus. You were trained. It's like fuck, man. Like just
you need
I like to have those natural, free-flowing conversations. But to any podcasters out there, holding your guests close to your chest doesn't help anybody. If you have a way of contact, I'm not asking you to vet them for me. Just if you're okay to share the contact, you're okay to tell me how you went about it, then I'm okay. I have told so many podcasters how I've gotten some of the guests because they're like, man, how did you get that? Honestly, TJP was crazy. I sent him a DM and I was like, hey, man, big fan. Would love to talk to you. And he got back. That was my message. It wasn't like this long-winded message. It was like, right. Big fan. I'd love to talk to you. And he hit me up and he's like, all right, let's do it.
Wow.
And I was like,
yeah, honestly, George, it's kind of funny because a lot like me too. Like I'm getting these wrestlers sometimes in my podcast. Like, yo, how'd you get her? I was like, I just asked her. That's it. Yeah, just message her. I was like, hey, I love to interview you sometime. Let me know. Here's a link to all my interviews. Like, let me know if you're ever down. That's it. That's it.
And sometimes that's the easiest way. I'm not gonna lie. I have paid. I have paid for certain guests because sometimes they need to be paid for their time, and I understand that. Richard Holiday's been on the MLW podcast like 3-4 times. We know each other very well. But every time he's been like, hey man, can you cut me off a little something? Absolutely. And there are wrestlers that I've hit up and the prices have been astronomical and they forget, again, I'm from Canada. So my dollar sucks. So when they say, hey man, so it's like $300 US. It's like, fuck, dude, that's like 400 for
Oh
me, man.
man, yeah.
Like that's a lot to break the bank, and even still, like to ask, like even for you guys, I mean, like $300 US. I mean, that's not fucking nothing to shy about. That's
Yeah,
half a
no.
PlayStation. That's half an Xbox, right? Like, fuck.
Right.
I want
I'm
to send
not
my kids to college eventually. You know what
right.
I
I'm not
mean?
gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. If if some of the wrestlers go, yeah, like 500 for an interview, 300 for an interview, yeah, no, I'll get back to you. Man, sorry,
Yeah,
I never do.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm sorry. I can't afford $500 for an interview.
exactly. Like if it's reasonable, like $50, $100, I
Right.
have no
Yeah, yeah.
problem putting it up
Sure.
because that's like my own personal meet and greet. And that's
Yeah.
what it would cost to sit down with you and get you to sign something. But if I can have that one-on-one time to ask you about anything, why not? And there are some wrestlers that, again, I'd never paid for, like just affiliations, building relationships. Now, some of the media managers from these companies are a little bit difficult to work with.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes if you don't hit the mark or you don't send the links proper, you get caught up in real life stuff. It's like, hey, sorry, you missed a boat, and that's just a part of it. But luckily enough, I have a really good relationship with Ross over at Impact, and I have a great relationship with Mark over at ROH. Now, obviously, that's going to be on hiatus for a little bit, but Mark was crazy. Mark actually, when I hit him up, I was like, man, I'd love to sit down with Marty Scroll and stuff like that. And I spelled Scroll wrong. I spelled the last name wrong. And he called me out on my shit, man. He's like, word to the wise, if you're going to approach the media manager of the wrestling organization, please have the respect to spell the wrestler's name right. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Oof.
Okay,
So
there.
I said, I'm not going to lie, man. I have fat fingers. I type shit wrong all the time. And sometimes I just get so excited with the messages that I'm typing, I just hit send. And I'm like,
Yeah.
damn. And I look back at it
Gotta
after, I'm like, fuck, I forgot a comma. It's a run-on sentence. There should be a period there. How the fuck why did I say Marty Squirrel? Like, what the fuck is happening right now? But he still gave me the opportunity. He's like, I can see that you're doing something different with you and your daughter. You guys are building something together. He's like, so how about, PCO? And he hit me up. It was funny. It was during a bad snowstorm over here. Yes. Oh God, the Great White North. Yes, we get snow, but we don't get snowed in. So relax with the jokes, please. All you American fans, all you guys. But he hit me up at like 6:30 on like that bad snowstorm. And I was supposed to pick my wife up from work at 7. And I called her. I said, babe, I'm going to get a chance to sit down with PCO, but I can cancel. She goes, no. She goes, I will take an Uber home. Don't you worry about it. You go sit down with PCO. And like, I lit it up 45 minutes with him. And he was only supposed to give me a half an hour, but he's like, I like the conversation. We'll keep it going. I was like, that's awesome. And it's just like, it's stuff like that is just, that inspires me. And same thing with Ross Foreman at Impact. He kind of laid it out for me straight up. He's like, your Twitter, when I first approached him, he's like, your Twitter numbers suck. Your Instagram numbers suck. He goes, you have no reach. And he goes, you have 9 subscribers on YouTube. Because at the time, YouTube wasn't a thing. I was just doing the audio podcast.
Right.
And I called him. He's like, why don't you call me? So I called him. We talked on the phone for an hour. He's like, George, I want to work with you. I want to give you an opportunity. But what's the point of getting one of my wrestlers on your show when I know it's going to reach 8 people? He's like, you got to change. He's like, I want to see Twitter numbers over 1,000. He's like, I'm going to give you 3 months. I want Twitter numbers over 1,000. I want Instagram over 1,000. He goes, I want you to have over 200 subscribers on YouTube before I even give you anyone. I was like, fuck. How am I going to do? And it was in the midst of the start of the pandemic in April of 2020, when the pandemic was really cooking.
Yeah.
Or 2020. Yeah.
2020.
And so I started changing things. I started doing the video podcasting. I'm like, well, I'm already recording on Skype and using the audio. I'm like, fuck it, I'll just do the video. And if it sucks, I won't use it. And then Lufisto was the first one. She's like, do you want to try video? I was like, yeah, okay. And we did. And I put it up and it got like 30 views. And then I went from 9 subscribers to 20. And I'm like, okay, this is something. So then I started doing more and more and more and more and more. And it worked and things were great. And then it started gaining traction. And then before you know it, I hit him up in like 3 months later. And I was like, Ross, I've hit your deadline. Twitter went from 200 to 1,200. Instagram went from like 8 to like 900. And fucking YouTube went from 9 to 160. And I was like, I know they're not the exact numbers. He's like, no, it's been impressive. Okay, let's give it a shot. Yeah. But again, there's times that Ross has, like I said, Ross has read me the Riot Act. I had a chance to get Mickey James, but I got the dates screwed up. I fucked up. And he sent me an email and he goes, no link, no interview. And I sat back. I'm like, fuck, man, I'm sorry. I thought we said yesterday. So when you didn't confirm with me, I thought, he goes, no, I clearly said Thursday. And I went back through the email. I'm like, fuck, he did say Thursday. I'm like, hey, man, I can get the link now. I can do it right now. Like, just give me the 20 minutes. He's like, sorry, maybe next time. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? That's cool. Fair enough. What am I going to do? Yell through a temper? Oh, no, don't screw me. No, I fucked up. I missed it. So I have to sit there. And I had a chance to sit down with Mickey James and I fucked it up and I missed it. So on to the next one. I said, no problem, Ross. It's close to Christmas. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. We'll talk in the new year. Hopefully I can sit down with Masha Slamovich or Speedball Mike Bailey, who I've had on the show a bunch of times. They're people I know when I talk to on a semi-regular basis, but now they're signed with Impact. I don't want to sidestep Impact. I don't want to be like, oh, I know them. They'll just come on my show. No, I want to go above board. And that's the thing. Like, if you get people before they get signed, be respectful enough to not be like, well, you and I had a relationship before you got signed. Yeah, but now they have a job. Now they're representing promotion. So you have to be on the up and up, and you have to go through the proper protocols. And if you fuck up like I did, and you misread an email, you got to eat the shit. And when he sends you back an email, it says, too late now, sorry, with an exclamation point. You can't sit there and cry. You can get upset. You can go outside, have a cigarette, smoke a weed, drink a beer, and be like, fuck, what an idiot I am. I can't believe I that email. But then you shrug it off. Maybe I'll get Mickey James down the line. I don't know. It is what it is. It'll happen. It won't. But at the end of the day, working with these guys and being respectful to these guys opens the doors to you in so many different ways. And that's the best way about it. I treat everyone the way I want to be treated. I know it may be cliche.
Absolutely.
Maybe, a little wax on, wax off, a little, you can catch a fly with chopsticks, Mr. Miyagi. But it's literally simple. If you put out into this world how you want to be treated, then it'll come back in spades. Same thing with the guys from HWE, Dave and AC. They own HWE. That's the company I'm proud to be affiliated with as a commentary team. I hit them up for an interview like 2 years ago. And December 2020, actually 1 year ago. Happy anniversary, guys. So I hit them up and we started talking and we just gelled. And then he called me when they were getting back to opening shows up here in July. And he goes, I want you to do commentary. And I was like, I mean, I want to. I'm nervous, but I don't know the movesets. I don't know any of that. He goes, yeah, but you got a good radio voice. He goes, you know enough to get by. Like, I know the moves, what they look like, but sometimes I forget the names. When shit's flying by super fast, like, I'm not going to lie. I'm like Excalibur. I call everything suicide dive when half the time it's not. I'll call a Falcon Arrow the same thing like 8 times over. Because I know them, but I don't know them. Like, I could call them in my house. But when you're on a mic, it's hard. But
it's different.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
It is.
When you're on the spot, it's not easy at all.
And people like, oh, I can't believe you fucked it up, or I can't believe a veteran like JR fucked it up. I used to be that fan. I used to be like, man, fuck JR, you're better than that. Also, yeah, the dude has fucking Parkinson's, man. And the fact that he's still doing it at this point in stage, and now he's battling cancer, like, fuck you. Anybody that shits all over these guys, like the guy who was crying when CM Punk returned. Everybody's shitting on him.
Yeah, right.
What the fuck is this guy about? Dude, when Sting came back, Before at Survivor Series a couple years ago to WWE, when he reappeared, my wife has a video of me blubbering like a baby. I don't give a fuck. Those are moments in time, man. These are our heroes. And as we get older, they get older, but they still want to entertain us. They still want to put their bodies on the line. The guy took 7 years off and comes and the fans crying. You're going to give him shit? What kind of community do we have now where we're going to shit all over everybody? That's not the wrestling fans that I grew up with. I remember being the kid in the back of the school, like the corner where the teachers would never go, and being like, all right, guys, we're going to do like wrestling. We're going to reenact Raw. And I remember my friends being like, I'm going to be Bret Hart. I'm going to be Shawn Michaels. I'm going to be Stone Cold. George, you're going to be Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I'm going to curtsy you motherfuckers all the way around. I dance all over your face. And Hunter Hearst Helmsley, he's gay. I'm like, he's not gay, man. He's going to watch, man. He's going to, in a couple years, he's going to be champion. I'm not saying I called it, but I called it. I knew what the stars would align. I knew what the stars would align. And now he's like an OG. He's like a legend, future Hall of Famer by himself because he cemented himself. I always go for the characters that are least exciting. I mean, yes, okay, I mentioned Sting, but I was Triple H when he was terrorizing. Yes, I was. That's again, I saw him at that same house show with Sting and Vader. And I was like, Dad, I like this guy. He's got a good look. He's like, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be much. Well, my dad called it wrong.
Yeah, look at him now.
Right. Yeah. Dad called it wrong. Called it wrong. Huge. I make fun of my dad all the time for that. Hey, Dad, remember when you said Triple H would never be a star? Shut up. No, you said that. That's what you said. So when I see people shitting all over fans who are passionate, that breaks my heart because that's not what this sport is about. Sport is about people entertaining us, telling us these stories without words. And they're going to put their bodies on the line. And yeah, if they fuck up a move or if they do something, to hear the chants, oh, you fucked up. I get it. It's a joke chant, but that's not cool for anybody to hear. And to shit all over a fan for crying because a wrestler he loved or she loved so much disappeared and came back 7 years later. Who the fuck are we now? We're just a bunch of keyboard warriors who live in mommy and daddy's basement who like to shit talk people who put themselves out there. Do I stumble on work? Fuck yeah. Do I fuck up names? Hell yeah. Have I an odd through my podcast? Yes. But if you could do any better, you fucking mama's boy jerking off with fucking barbecue sauce in your mom's basement, Come on, do it. Start a podcast. I will welcome you
Oh,
because I don't shit on anybody. I am not that person. If you're gonna be respectful to me, I'm gonna be respectful to you. But if you're gonna shit talk me and come at my kid or come at me through a fucking keyboard, I got no time for you. You should just hold your breath till you stop breathing. You're sucking up oxygen the rest of the world needs. So, honest opinion. I can't be straight talk if I don't.
If you aren't straight talking,
you
right?
are straight talk, bro. I absolutely love it though, man. George, God, man, we both want to thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Absolutely.
This has
Thank you
been
guys
so
for
much
having me, man. It was
fun.
an honor.
Yeah, of course. Of course, we hope to have you on down the road with the mini host. And again, I hope
Yes.
she's doing okay. Send her our best wishes. But until then, man, until we have you on, drop those plugs. Where can the nerds find you?
Oh, it's pretty simple. Straight Talk Wrestling, pretty much everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube. Hit it up. It's like 418 subscribers. Wouldn't mind getting to like 420, 425. I'm not greedy. I'm not going to say 500 by the end of the year. That's not realistic. Give me 2 to 7 new subscribers. I'll be really happy and over the moon about that. And at Twitter, it's @_Straight Talk because for some reason, Straight Talk Wrestling was taken. I'm not sure why. But when they said it, it was taken. But somebody out there is Straight Talk Wrestling and not using the handle. But I got it now. So, sucker! And also on Podbean and all the podcast platforms, Straight Talk Wrestling. You could listen to all the archives, and everything is available on YouTube. Coming up to vidcast number 80 by the end of the year, which is pretty cool. And episode 225 by the end of the year. So
awesome.
Go back and listen to the first 10 or 15 when we did Raw and SmackDown recaps because they were fucking horrible. But if you listen to like episode 26 and on, that's where we start to get our groove. And then the interviews kick in around episode 60. And that's what I've been going with ever since. So,
well, there you go, nerds. Go check out Straight Talk Wrestling on all social media platforms and all platforms where podcasts can be heard. This has been an episode of What's Up, Nerds. I'm your host, Justin Del Rio, along with my co-host, Dylan. Peace out, nerds.